on the one hand, you said that Navalny is the number one player in the opposition camp. On the other hand, you said that Putin's condition right now is really good, and I'm wondering, is Navalny right now a real threat for Putin? Is Putin afraid of Navalny?
Yeah, I think yes. I mean, he is generally paranoid. Putin is afraid of many things, whether true or not. He is afraid of the Orange Revolution. He is afraid of the Maidan. He is afraid of the West. He is afraid of the popular movement. He is afraid of Navalny. I mean, that's more or less his occupation, to be afraid. He is a KGB man. He is a security man. So they are thinking in terms of threats. So they're constructing threats and selling it to the West, selling it to the population. Yes, I think he is afraid of Navalny, and I mean, he is superstitious. He doesn't even pronounce his name. You see, nobody in the Kremlin pronounces, they say the Berlin patient, that man, that leader. They are afraid to say Aleksei Navalny, right? So there's some mysticism in it. But once again, you see, the opposition in Russia is very weak. I have to say that generally, if any change is going to happen in this country, it will most likely come from the outside. It will not come from the people themselves. As much as
outside, what does it mean from the outside?
Well, you know, external circumstances, the long-term drop in the price of oil, some, you know, big external contingency, like, okay, pandemic was one, there could be a second, more deadly pandemic, there could be some, well, God save us from this, some external acts of terrorism, a war, some kind of war. Well, this is very unlikely, but still, you see, each time change in Russia happened, it was initiated on the top, and it came from the outside, like the 1917 revolution, like the 1991 revolution. This was not driven by the people themselves, right? It was the elites that made it, and people eventually were integrated into what was going on.
What Russian people think about the current situation in the country? What they think about Navalny? Would they follow him?
Not yet, no. Unfortunately, I think there's a small percentage of the population. Well, it's hard to say at this point, but I don't know, maybe 10, maybe 20% of the population that could follow him, that see him as the leader of the nation. But that's already a lot. I mean, he is the only, because all others will be in like single digits, like very small numbers. People would get the ratings, the approval ratings. No, people rather are tired of Putin, and they see that Russia has no future. I mean, this is clearly the prevailing sentiment, that this is a country without a future. The system doesn't have a future. But people are not ready to get together and act in order to change their lives, in order to change their condition. Russia, I think, is not ready for large-scale protest, for the revolution, so let's just say.
They wait for this outside impact.
I don't think they even, no, that's my analytical judgment, but I don't think people honestly wait for anything. They just don't wait for anything. That's it. Maybe there's some instinct people would like, especially the younger generation, right? There's a big change in 2021 is that the younger generation now finally is going after Navalny, because the crowd in the meetings was predominantly between 20 and 35 years of age. So the generation change may, you know, change the cards for Putin. But still, you know, I have to understand that there's no platform in which people can aggregate. Right? There's no something like, you know, the Polish Solidarność. There are no trade unions. There are no political parties. There are no elections in Russia that can change anything. Elections are totally controlled. There's no politics. You know, the problem in Russia is that there's no politics. People can, well, the only thing they can do is they can go out in the streets, and then there's a very big and effective oppressive machine.
Does Navalny know how to overcome this obstacle?
I don't know. Frankly, I don't know. I really have to understand the reasons, once again, which drove him to return. Maybe this was very much emotional. Maybe this was hope for the change in the minds of the Russian population. But I cannot really go inside his head.
What's the difference between Navalny and the other opposition figures in Russia? Why Kremlin fears the most exactly Navalny?
Because he is successful in his activity, he is disclosing the corruption, he is making this highly successful movies, videos, he is hitting at all of the Putin's encirclement and then finally at Putin himself. Because he can mobilize tens of thousands, and we can see like hundreds of thousands of supporters going behind him. No other politician can claim this in Russia these days. And he clearly says also that he has a political ambition. He wants to change Russia and he wants to be the head of this change. So he is a politician, he has political ambition, he is a political leader, but unfortunately this all is not enough to change this, to challenge this huge fortress, set in stone. And Russia is now an accomplished dictatorship. It's very much like a Latin American dictatorship that we're facing now, with the groups of killers that, as we see, can go after opposition leaders, after like even some pro-Kremlin politicians, as we see now, with the loyal siloviki, the loyal repressive apparatus, very well paid, and especially in the times of the pandemic, people don't want to take risks. They don't want to lose their government jobs. They don't want to lose their job in the police, and so on. So all conditions are in place. And I really don't see a crack in the system, so where it could go away anytime soon.